Austin, what's up, man?
How's it going?
Dude, it's going great. Welcome back to On the Road to Rock. It's been a little bit, and
Yeah.
man, you got your background game all in check. You got your setup. This we can just do a podcast together. This is
Yeah, why
great.
not?
How's it going, brother? What's been cracking?
Well, I've just been, rocking and rolling, and thankfully, I'm still here.
Hey, thankfully, we are all still here, at least for today, and that is tremendous. That's all we can hope for. Austin, you have a single that's getting ready to be released. I have it. I've heard it. So you got a video coming out this week, right? I'm Wanted.
Yeah.
It's coming out this week.
Yeah, this Wednesday, actually. So I believe it's tomorrow,
Yes.
November 17th.
It looks exciting. I saw a clip of the video that's on your social media. The song's awesome. How excited are you for this? Is it kind of one of those deals like where, because I'm this way, I've done documentaries and done things where I'm like, you're so close to it. And when it comes to, when you release it to the world, it's like, whoo, here we go. Let's see what happens. But you got to be really excited for this release, my man.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, totally. It's kind of the same feeling that I had when we released The River. It's more or less where I'm at. Is I just hope people enjoy it as much as we enjoyed making it, if that makes sense.
It does. And the song has a lot of layers. It's got it's got a lot of blues influence, but it's kind of swampy too, man. There's some real dirtiness to this song.
Thanks,
and
man.
I love that. I love that. And I think The River, do you feel like that this song, does it mirror The River in any way? Are they any way connected, or did you kind of want this to be, a little different? What's the style here that you were going for?
So when I wrote this song, I had the initial riff recorded. So I had it on my phone. I re-recorded it in GarageBand because that's how I cut my demos and stuff when I sent them to Frank and my other producers that I've worked with in the past. So I had the general layout and the structure of the song more or less completed, and I didn't have any words to it yet. And at the time that I was working on this song, I was in a lot of frustration because there was a dude that I was trying to get a hold of that we'd talk one day, and then sometimes a month or two would go by, and then he'd come back like nothing happened. And so that really got me kind of irritated. And then on top of that, I would go on social media and there'd be people who would write negative things about their opinion of The River or Take a Walk in My Shoes, which were my last two singles that I released. And so what I did, instead of responding to those people and getting my frustration out on social media, because that just doesn't look good in my opinion, even regardless of how big you are. You could be freaking Prince, and if you're cussing out some 12-year-old, I'm sorry, man, but that's just not cool.
Take note, Wolfgang Van Halen. Yes.
And so what I did is I got out my notebook, I wrote down my feelings, got it all out, and I just set it and forget it. And I came back to it a couple of days later. And when I was rereading what I had scribbled down, the main takeaway that I got from it from a fresh point of view was I'm wanted. And to me, with this song, that meant I'm wanted regardless of who's paying attention or who's not paying attention to me. I'm going to succeed in this industry or die trying. So that's kind of the kind of point of view that I tried to write with this song. And it's basically here I am, and this is what I am.
There's some angst there. Yeah. There is. And I like that. And you talked about Frank, as in Frank Hannon Productions, guitarist from Tesla as well. There's that. Yeah. Just small side note. A huge fan of he's been on the show several times. Talk about how important that partnership is with him and sort of how it all came to be. You're from Sacramento, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, hometown.
How did you guys kind of get hooked up there?
Oh, geez. So that came about on my 21st birthday. They were, let me see, I got the sticker behind me. It was September 22nd, and this would be 3 years ago when I turned 21. So my birthday is 9/11. So my family friend surprised me with some tickets to see Tesla. They were playing up at this amphitheater called Thunder Valley. It's an outdoor stage. They have a casino. So I know a bunch of people who know Frank and have hung out with him and totally cool cats. So I hit up one of my local photographers that I know that's worked with him for a while. I was like, hey, man, you know, it's my 21st birthday. My friend has been following Frank since he was City Kid, and they were just booking their own bars. So what I would like to do is I would like to surprise him to go meet Frank and the guys. Do you think that would be possible? And he's like, oh, dude, I just booked a session for that show. Like, I'm not covering it, unfortunately. So, you know, I can't this time. Maybe the next show. And I was like, oh, man. Who else am I going to ask? And my mom goes, well, why don't you just ask Frank? I was like, oh, yeah, sure. I'm just going to go ask a freaking rock star. Hey, can I surprise my friend to come and meet you? And so a lot of back and forth with my mom. She eventually talked me into it. And then I shot him this really polite, just, hey, man, it's my 21st birthday. This is who I am. I've been playing in the area for, 10 years, blah, blah, blah. I completely understand if this isn't doable because it's Sacramento. I can't imagine how many people are trying to get backstage,
True. Hometown.
Hang out from when they were in high school or whatever. But to my surprise, I woke up the next morning to a text from Frank on Facebook, and he's like, oh, hey, Austin, how's it going? Yeah, man, no problem. Just let me know how many backstage passes you want. And I was like, I would like to, please. And he's like, yeah, sure. Why not? Just send me your name and bring your license so they can confirm and all this stuff. So it's the day of the show. We get to the show early because we're thinking we might be able to sneak in and do a meet and greet. And they're like, no, it doesn't say. The guy at the gate, he's like, it doesn't say meet and greet, so you can't go back there.
Been there.
I'm like, but I got it. He's like, no, it doesn't matter. I don't care. And so the opener's on a couple, half hour later, and we eventually get to go backstage, but we didn't find anybody. We were just looking at tour buses, and there's like no roadies. It was like kind of deserted, which was weird. I was thinking there'd at least be people to like stop us from going in trucks and stuff, but we didn't. I mean, out of respect for the guys. So we walk around. I get a picture with, they had a banner that said Tesla and stuff all up and down it. So I got a picture with that, and we're sitting watching the opener, and I get a text on my phone, and it's from Frank. He must have, I don't remember if I gave him my number or he got it from somebody else. He goes, hey man, are you at the show? I was like, yeah, but we walked backstage and we didn't see anybody, or Jeff, Brian, or you, or so we just, we're here. And he's like, oh, you want to come and hang out? I was like, yes, like 100% yes. So we went backstage and we hung out with Frank, and Frank was super cool. And he was giving me a lot of wisdom and stuff. And from that, we kept in contact. And I eventually started going up to his house to be mentored by him. And so a couple months into that, this is like late, or no, this is early 2019. So well before the pandemic.
Yeah.
And he goes, hey, I have this show at this local club called the Boardwalk. Would you want to be an opener? And I was like, yeah, man, why not? He goes, okay, well, how about this? You open for me, and we'll have this other dude. And then at the end, we'll do like a big old jam. I'm going to have some people from UFO sit in, and another crazy cat. His name is Greg Golden, who's out of Reno, Nevada, who's a monster guitar player. And I was like, yeah, I'm definitely going to do this show. So we did the show. We kicked everybody's butt. And then from that show in November of 2019, Frank really took a liking to me and took me under his wing and showed me how to write music and stuff. And so from that and the process of riding the river, it really opened up a part of me that I was struggling to figure out how to unlock. I had the door in front of me. I was knocking, but I didn't have the key. And Frank just walks up and goes, "No, it was open the whole time," kind of a deal. And so
incredible.
I think without that experience and everything that was leading up to it, I honestly don't know how many original songs I would even have right now. I mean, maybe one more at the most, I would think, had I not worked with him and had him show me the ropes and really open my eyes to, well, I want this chorus to sound like Styx. So how do we get it to sound like Styx without ripping off Styx? Or I like this riff from Kiss. What can we do to it to, you know, make it our own and kind of transform it?
You know, that's what's, you know, your story, you know, all of that is just such proof that life is an amazing journey and that every step of the way, like there's a meaning to it, and you've lived that, and that is so great. And what is the kind of next step? We see that we got the single coming out. We see that there is your website is sort of waiting to be launched. So does that mean that there's some bigger stuff coming up here in 2022? What can we look forward to here?
So at the moment, we're in the process of talking about releasing my very first EP. And so the music that'll be on that, and I'm not sure what we're going to call it. We're leaning, one of the tracks is called Do or Die. And so we're leaning more towards labeling the EP that. But that catalog of music will be from the producer that I've been working with while Frank has been on tour. And that guy's out of Boston, Massachusetts, and I've flown there twice, and we recorded about 7 or 8 songs, and I believe 6 of them are originals, and there's 2 covers just for fun. And so yeah, that'll be first or second week. We're targeting for January 2022, and then a couple more singles, and who knows
what's going on with the live shows. Anything coming up? What's next for the live performances? Anything?
So at this time that we're recording this, which is November, my next live performance, I'll be sitting in with Frank Hannon and his band on December 18th.
Sweet.
And that'll be fun. It'll be, rock and roll Christmas and some, I'm sure, Tesla, obviously. And maybe if we can talk them into it, do a little Frampton or something. But but yeah, so that's what's on the books right now. And I'm just reaching out to people and seeing if there's a tour that needs support next year. And you never know. And somebody might say, hey, you're the perfect fit.
You got a 3-piece band.
Yes,
Austin Moe Experience. Who's the other 2 cats, man? Tell us about them and how'd you find them?
So right now I've been working with Kelly Smith, who's a local drummer up here, and Nick Nichols. And when Frank was on tour in 2019, I had a drummer drop out of a gig super, super last minute. And I was panicking. I didn't know who to call because the other 2 guys that I had to my disposal were busy. So I just texted Frank. I was like, dude, I'm in such a pickle right now. Like, do you know anybody? And he goes, yeah, Kelly Smith. He doesn't tell me who he is, what he does, or nothing. And I was like, okay. So I do a couple of shows with Kelly, and Kelly goes, dude, did Frank tell you like anything about where I've come from or anything? I said, no, dude, he just said you're like the best drummer in the area. He goes, oh man, well, I've been playing with Frank for like the last 7 or 8 years. And I was like, no way. Are you serious? He goes, yeah, man. He didn't tell you like anything. He didn't. It was like, no, he just sent me your number and said, see if he's available. So Kelly and Nick have played with Frank in the past a lot. And I'm grateful to be able to have the opportunity to call them when I have a gig presented to me.
That is tremendous. And that can only be, I mean, you're starting off with such tremendous momentum, the talent's there. Who's your influences? Like you hear the blues and you're playing, of course. So, I mean, is it typical blues players? Are you influenced by any just rock and roll? I mean, what's.
So when I started guitar, which I was 12 years old, I'm 24 now, so I've been playing for 12 years. Backing up before that, I would solely listen to Kiss, Dio, AC/DC. You know, my dad would put on Kid Rock. My mom would put on Johnny Cash and like Merle Haggard. So I had a wide variety of guitar players that I had been listening to all my life. And so when I picked up the guitar, it was a lot of Angus Young, Ace Frehley, Paul Stanley, Prince, you know, a lot of the classic rock, Joe Walsh. And then once I started getting comfortable and transitioning into the blues scene up here, it was Stevie Ray Vaughan, Jimi Hendrix, Freddie Beebe, Albert King, John Mayer. And now I'm listening to and learning, so to speak, for those of you who are listening to audio, I'm doing air quotes.
Yeah.
Learning.
Very
so
important
to speak,
yes.
From listening to Joe Bonamassa, and there's this cat out of Canada. His name is Philip Sace, and that dude is just on fire. If I don't know if you know who he is, but he's incredible.
Great.
Incredible person. And, you know, John Mayer, of course. And so very blues rock kind of vibe.
Do you remember what was your first concert? Was it one of those, was it a moment for you that was like, this is it? Or was it something, a different event that made you?
So the light. So when the switch got flipped, I'll word it like that.
Yeah, exactly. The switch.
I was in elementary school and doing the stereotypical, you know, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up? Oh, I want to be a cop. I want to be a fireman. I want to be this. So then Guitar Hero came out and it swept the nation. Like every kid had one. I didn't have one for like a year. And so I'd go over to my cousin's house and just play. And that's all we would do. And it got to the point where he wouldn't let me come over sometimes because that's like all I would want to do is just play this game that I didn't have yet. And so I think when I started to get a little too good at that game, and what I mean by that is I would play the hardest difficulties, I'd play the hardest songs, and I would memorize the charting that was in the game. And so I was basically teaching myself the song, but on 5 buttons. And so I would be walking around, talking to my parents, talking to whoever, you know, not looking at the screen, not missing a note either. And so when it got to that point, I think it was from that moment, I was like, you know what? I think I can do this. Like if I can do it on a plastic guitar, then I can for sure do it on a normal guitar. And so I was thinking that I didn't tell my parents I wanted to play the guitar because I just didn't really want to do that many chores, man. It was a couple hundred, even a $200 guitar. That's how many dishes, how many loads of laundry do I got to do, mow the lawn. So that's where I was at as a kid. And then my dad reached out to his buddy who had a vintage Gibson Flying V, a 70s.
Ooh.
And he goes, hey man, Austin's way too good at this game. And I feel like if I don't get him a guitar, that's all it's going to be is a video game. Like, I really think that he has a shot at this. And he goes, okay, well, come on over to my house. I want to show you something I've never shown you before. And my dad's friend and him had been friends for over 10, 15 years because they've been working together and stuff. So my dad comes over and he brings out this beat up Gibson, just dirty case, and he opens it up and he goes, so this is my guitar that I'll let Austin borrow because I trust you guys. I want it back in a couple months. I just want him to learn on it. It's getting towards Christmas. You can buy him a guitar and then that'll be that. And my dad was like, okay. So I was only supposed to learn the basic scales, maybe a riff or two. And then, you know, if there was any interest, my parents would have bought me a guitar and so on and so forth. So the 2 to 3 months turned into 12 years. And I just this January gave it back to him.
Oh my gosh.
So it was a very, very hard thing to do because I'd grown so attached to it. And the dude had only owned the guitar in including with my 12 years, 22 years. So out of the 22 years, I had it for the most time. And I was like, dude, like, I'll give you whatever you want. He's like, find me a guitar that is as rare and as unique as that Flying V, and I'll let you have it. And I was like, oh man. So I called Frank. Frank was willing to sell one of his guitars and sign it in order for me to keep that guitar, the Flying V that I learned on. And I told the guy that, and he's like, well, how old's the guitar? I was like, I don't know, dude. It's Frank's.
Yeah,
it's Frank Hannon's personal guitar. Well, if it's not vintage, I'm not interested. And so we had a lot of conversations like that. And it just got to the point where my mom was like, okay, so if you were him and you were in the situation, would you be okay with getting, let's say 4 or 5 new guitars in exchange for the guitar that you've had since,
right,
your childhood or whatever? And I was like, no. And she goes, okay, well then there's your answer. So let's go give him the guitar back and, let it be. And so I had to grit my teeth. He came over. It was a very somber moment for me, but I do now own my own personal Flying V, so I don't have to worry about somebody calling me and saying, hey, give me my guitar back. I went up to Bizarre Guitar in Reno, who is that shop is owned by Greg Golden, which was, I mentioned him earlier.
Yes.
And he let me play his 5 personal Flying Vs that he owned in the shop. And I picked out, I initially going up there, I didn't want a natural colored, like the 58. I wasn't looking for something like that because they just really didn't speak out to me. And like, it just kind of looked bland, with the black pick guard and the black hardware and the wood. It mentally, I was going in, I don't want that guitar.
Sure.
But I picked that guitar up, and that was the only one that spoke to me.
Oh,
so
I love it.
It was 100th anniversary, 1999 mint Gibson Flying V. And I was like, I can't not leave with this.
Hey, cannot go wrong with that. That is tremendous. I love that. And Austin, just for everything you've accomplished so far and everything you're going to accomplish, we say congratulations. And I think that there's so much more to come. Again, guys, the single, by the time this airs, it's out now, and it's called I'm Wanted, and it's tremendous. You can catch the video. It's going to be on your social medias. You can follow Austin Moe.
Mm-hmm.
Austin, it's always a pleasure, my man. Can't wait to see you out there live here in the next year or two. We're going to make it happen. Oh, yeah. Yes, and sir. Continued success and best of luck, man, because it's only going up from here. We appreciate the time so much, my friend.
Hey, thanks for having me. It was a great time and an honor.
You bet. Anytime, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You bet.